I'm Jon Altschuler.
I'm Scott Bennett. We've known each other for almost 50 years.
We grew up together on the playground.
And now we're in the foreground and still growing up.
From the playground to the foreground.
Join the conversation. Well, back on the playground, episode 18. Jon, how you doing?
I'm great.
So I think you're just back on the playground. Thank God you made it back to the playground.
That's right. It's fun to be back.
You were traveling?
Europe.
Yep. We talked about it last episode. Vienna, Prague.
Correct. London.
I saw London, maybe in New York. Did I see New York?
Ended in New York.
Yeah, you're like Carmen Sandiego. I was following you, tracking you. I saw your posts, and just curious. I know you had a travel with family. I was thinking about some of the posts. It's always fun. I like a lot of pictures of your architecture, things that you're interested in, but I'm most interested in the family dynamic posts.
Ooh, tough.
I
came back to the office to relax.
I understand. You came away. Yeah, that was a trip, not a vacation.
Exactly.
Right. The one that grabbed me, there was a lot I saw, but there was a post about the water at the table. The brother, sister, somebody going to throw water, to which you snagged the water out of the hand.
It was a pretty good move by me.
So talk to me just for a second about that. If you guys were at a restaurant, there was like a family,
Right. So we had a sister who was insulting the other sister nonstop, and she was wearing AirPods. And so at one point, the sister who was being insulted took one of her AirPods and was like serving as the warden or disciplinarian.
Yeah.
And so then as we were leaving the restaurant, I was walking up the stairs from this downstairs pub. And I turn around and I see that the other sister, who's not even a principal in the dispute, has a glass of water and is charging towards the warden. No. And I pluck it from her hand, and she was just completely stunned. Like, it was a good move by me.
You were swift to the catch.
Was swift. It was unexpected, and I just swiped it.
Yeah, and then you just...
It was like, hey, I got it.
Right.
It was so great.
And everything went on. Right? It was fun. You foiled the whole plan.
I did. I totally foiled it.
Yeah. Well...
Because it would have been a disaster. To have a wet sister.
Yeah.
Is just like,
yeah, I know. So it would have escalated the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, I read it, and it was the same week so for me, I was just here, but we had my older daughter came home. And this was the first time four of us had been in any extended period in our new living arrangement, a much smaller domicile, right? And I like to tell people my equation last week, Jon, was really weird. It was, I just wanted to picture this: 3 women, all thinking that they're my mother, only 2 doors, 3 doors, and me. Not a good equation for my week.
What, so 2 bedroom doors and 1 bathroom door?
Yes, 1 bathroom door that says it.
I just locked myself in the bathroom.
I thought about it.
That'd be your power move.
I know. I was thinking about it last week. How do I get out of this for a whole week? So while you were doing that, I was trying to navigate. It's weird because we don't have a bedroom for my daughter that lives in Chicago. So she was home for a whole week. We had a family event, and then she was going to a wedding. So she was here. We got to spend some good time. But, we grew up in small, I feel like a small, not much larger than what I was living in, but given the size and the nature of this space and its more open floor plan, and I guess everybody's age, and then 3 women and me, just did not seem like a good. So I was thinking about you while you were there doing that, and needless to say, we both survived till we made it here.
We both deserve hazard pay.
I know, hazard pay, and I think this episode is kind of a vacation. It's kind of like a therapy session.
Totally.
We talked about last episode with our friend Sam. Loved her, by the way.
That's fun.
That she, my mental toughness was tested last week. I think I'm mentally tougher, and I think you are too.
I am.
Well, I am so excited. I've loved every episode. I am so excited about today's episode. And before we get to it, because our guest is extremely special to me, you've met this guest before, but you get to meet him again. We got to do our show and tell. Been excited. Our guest today contributed to the show and tell. That's new.
Nice.
So we were together
when
we chose the show and tell. I introduced him to our favorite place, Brahms. So
that's incredible.
I know he was.
Is it really our favorite place?
Well, we like it. We're partial to their ice cream and tea.
We like their price point.
We love their price point. Yeah. I mean, it's still like we're in a time warp in this tariff environment. I mean, we are doing good at Brahms.
Hey, in New York, I bought a cheeseburger, fries, and a shake for $40.
Yeah, I can't. Right? Did you just?
I was just like, man, I quit. I quit.
Our guest is really big on the milkshake. Well, I brought this because we're going to take a couple minutes. Brahms, we got to make sure we get that in the picture because we love Brahms, or at least I do. And we were having ice cream, and we were walking through. He wanted to take in the grocery section. It was,
Are you giving me some bacon?
Nope.
Okay.
Yes.
RC Cola?
RC Cola. Okay. Well, he pointed it out, and I'm like, that is amazing. Me and my RC, that's their slogan. What do you know about RC Cola, John? Like, just
I suspect, I would think it's owned by Pepsi, but I don't know.
No.
Is it owned by Dr. Pepper?
so started in 1905. Your mom might appreciate this, in Columbus, Georgia,
Okay.
of all places. At its height, it's noted for two things. It was at its greatest point, it was like a fourth entry, really fifth in the soft drink category. In 1954, RC Cola was responsible for the first aluminum cans of cola in aluminum cans. I don't think for the first aluminum cans, but that the beverage being consumed that way. And in I think late in the 60s, they made the first diet soda. So they were Diet Right was their brand. So I knew that brand. I didn't know. I'm going to be clear. I wasn't excited. I just loved the brand. I remember it.
It's kind of cool.
And
yeah.
I think our guest liked it too. He noted it.
That's good.
So I'm like, yeah, it's kind of funny. The biggest they ever got in terms of market share in the share of stomach for soft drink, about 5%. So they were not really ever a player. But still, here it is. I was happy to see. And Brahms carries it. So I thought, and its peak was really kind of when we were growing up. Then at 84 was when they had the most market share. So we were 12-ish, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't remember ever really caring for it. Like, I would have felt like I could see you guys bringing this
to the soccer games.
Soccer games.
I knew.
Like,
my mom bought Shasta.
Attendance.
Let me be clear, Shasta and flavored. I knew who liked what, so when I'd usually go, because that's the only way I was getting any clout on the team, given I wasn't contributing much on the field. It was what I think I've talked about this in previous episodes, the snacks.
Yeah.
And I made sure my mom brought, you were judged by by what your mom brought to our soccer games. And I don't think Brenda was highfalutin because we had some sort of weird thing, my mom, that we were able to get soft drinks at my dad's business. We always had cases of soft drinks. Maybe not great for me, lots of sugary drinks.
I do wonder if you being on the airplane, the thought of like somebody smoking on an airplane.
Yeah.
Like we would never do that.
No.
I wonder if in 30 years they'll just be baffled that we used to bring beverage carts down the aisles serving soft drinks.
I know.
Because we learned they're just so bad for us.
Well, right now I think what everybody's caught up in is the idea that we're not even serving them. The cups we're serving them in have changed, the form factor, right? Because they're recyclable, especially on Southwest.
I love Southwest.
We
I
talked
love
about
that cup.
it. It's come up a couple of times on
Yeah,
this podcast. It's
it.
clearly making a mark
I love
with
that
us.
cup.
I know. Well, anyway, I thought it was fun, and I hadn't seen it, and I think this is probably better than the sushi last week. You might have a sip of this after we're done, although it's warm. But
Well, I want to keep it.
you do.
I have a friend here named RC.
Okay, good. Well, and by the way, it was only $1.99, this 2 liter.
I'm telling you, Brahms has really good prices.
I know. We noticed the milk last night. Our guest was taking it in. It is a great place. But anyway, I thought this was fun and a fun thing to bring for show and tell. Reminds me of my youth and a pretty cool logo, to be honest. I'm still
Timeless.
Yeah. And that was their campaign, Me and My RC. It was that was like the most successful thing they had. I remember the commercials actually when I was looking it up. So, to tease our guest, because we're about to get to it and I'm so excited. First of all, it's our first guest that is driven from out of the boundaries of being local, specifically to be on this.
It's good.
So I'm really excited. 400 miles from Mississippi. And he has profoundly changed my life in a way that I don't think he ever expected. He never expected to know me, probably better than he didn't. But nonetheless, we have a friend, and I cannot wait for you to have a conversation because I think it's going to be one that inspires a lot of people who know my story. I know you know the story, but I'm excited to share his story, really, because that's what we do. It's about our guest, but his story has changed my story. The work he's done has made it possible for me to be here doing this podcast today. So I'm really excited to get to it after the break.
So am I.
Would you like to be our guest?
Or is there someone you would like to see on the show?
DM us through social at Playground Foreground.
We look forward to hearing from you.
John, our guest today is my dear friend, Matt Nalker from Mississippi. I'll tell you exactly where he's from in a minute, but I know Matt because he is the guardian and supportive decision-making partner for the donor of my heart, Cody Richardson. And I am so thrilled, Matt, that you are here today with John and I to have a conversation. So welcome to the Playground.
Gosh, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So we always like to start off, John. I'm, boyhood friend, known me a long time. And John knows my story. John knew the story before he knew you because I was sleeping. But before we get into that, how we know each other, I just would love for everybody to know who's listening and watching who you are. So just 90 seconds on who you are in the world, Matt.
So first, I'm impressed that you said my last name correctly. A lot of people think Nalker, but
Right.
it's like Walker with an N, Nalker. So thank you for that. So I'm a dad of 6 kids, oldest of which has a profound intellectual disability. I'm a horticulture major, had a landscape business and a garden center for years until God blessed us with Brooke, our oldest, and it got me involved in a very real way of trying to find services and supports for her and others like her. I thought that was the initial reason for getting involved, and it bloomed into a career for me. I've been at the ARC of Mississippi for the last 30 years. I've been the state director for the last 20 years in Mississippi, and it's provided me an opportunity and a platform to meet awesome people like yourselves and to create programs in our state that I think makes the system much better and more efficient to serve folks with and without disabilities, people in need of support. So we help a lot of people along the way.
So, Jon, are you familiar with the ARC?
I'm not.
So I think, Matt, I don't think we talk about God winks at times. People say that. When I was at the University of Texas, where I attended college, I was involved with the Texas Cowboys, still am, as an advisor. It's a prestigious men's service organization. The beneficiary of all the service work we did was the ARC of Texas.
Oh, great.
At the time, it was referred to as the Association of Retarded Citizens. That's how I learned it. At least that's what I knew then, back at the time when I was in college.
That's certainly how it began. In Mississippi as well, all over the country. You know, the ARC of Texas, much like the ARC of Mississippi, is affiliated with the ARC of the United States, and that was our name and how we got started.
So they keep the ARC, but we no longer say that word, right?
Yeah, it's not an acronym anymore.
Yeah.
If it is, it's abilities, respect, and choice, if there is an acronym associated with it. But the ARC's logo is just the ARC, capital T, capital A, little RC, the ARC. And in our state, I can only speak for Mississippi, it's not just for and about folks that might be impacted by an intellectual disability, but it's certainly folks that have maybe a mental health need, people that are dually diagnosed, folks that are in need of alcohol and drug treatment. It's a human service organization, not about a particular disability or disability category.
So it had been in my life, and my current employer, Marsh McLennan Agencies, it's one of the philanthropies we support. We do quite a bit of work. So here I was to take this new job, and then as you and I met, and we'll talk a little bit about that, Jon, because I think you've heard the story, but I'll repeat it, and we'll get through it quickly because I really want the world and for you to learn a little about Matt beyond what our relationship is. But I was taken back by when I started to learn about what the ARC was, because I think you talk about the ARC of Texas and the ARC of Mississippi. I liken it to franchise for nonprofit, right? Like, I mean, as you and I got to know each other, the model. So talk a little bit about how that just the ARC is. You're the ARC of Mississippi and there's the ARC of Texas. Are you in the ARC of Texas part of the bigger parent?
It's not a hard question to answer for most folks, but I can only speak to the ARC of Mississippi. I can't speak to the ARC of Texas. I used to know y'all's executive director years ago, but our association affiliation with the ARC of the United States is an individual affiliation. So the ARC of Texas may have a different agreement. We're our own separate 501c3 in the ARC of Mississippi, much like we have local chapters. We were talking earlier about Jones County in Mississippi and Hattiesburg and a couple of other cities in Mississippi. They have their own local ARC chapter as well, and they're their own 501c3s,
really? Okay,
yes,
so
within our own state. So I can't speak to the national agreements or affiliations. So our 501c3 status in Mississippi is the ARC of Mississippi, and then we'll have local chapters throughout the state that may identify in their area, for example, respite in Jones County. Respite's national definition is a gift of time. So these families, parents of children with intellectual disabilities, will go together. They bought a house in Wisteria Trail Park. It's a little neighborhood in Jones County. Hire their own nurses themselves, and their family members, they're members of their local organization, can drop their sons or daughters off there so that they can go to Walmart on Saturday or go to dinner on Friday night. So they've identified in their community what the need is, and then created an organization to help address that need.
But the reason I asked the question, Jon, and I wanted you to hear this, is that my donor, Cody Richardson, we'll talk a little bit about how you and I met. You never needed to know me. and I think I needed to know you. And the story, for those that don't know it, is that I received a life-saving heart transplant on April 28th of 2023. There is a process, a privacy process that goes on, just like in your medical care, that sometimes the donor doesn't want to know the recipient, or the recipient doesn't want to know the donor. It's a heavy topic because somebody has passed away in order for me to be here, and we've talked about that before. But as a result, I was contacted by a woman who had some relationship with Cody, and probably was enough. I was hopeful that I'd seen stories on the news of other organ stories, especially the fact that my dad had received a heart transplant. And being who I was, I wanted to let the family know how grateful I was and hoped to know them, and painted these visions of what it would be in my mind. And the original story I heard was about my donor, and it was a lot of information. I think most of it accurate as a result, Matt, of knowing you, and you've sort of validated what was true and what I gathered. But why did I find you? Because you were mentioned by this person who told me about you, and that you had put my donor together, basically reunited him and his brother. They were estranged, and there was an attempt, and in your everyday work, that is some of the things you do, right?
That's right. Through our supported decision-making program that I think you alluded to earlier, or maybe somebody here did when we were talking about the ARC, we've had these conversations on and off throughout the day. But through our supported decision-making program, we are guardians for individuals that have nobody else in their life. So somebody that may have had a long-term mental health issue that has really burned all their bridges with their family, and the program needs somebody to sign them into services or supports, or somebody to help them make decisions in their life. We are that agency that has stepped in. We originally started that program for 100 people in Mississippi that live on large regional facilities. That program, this past Monday, we had an SDM meeting. We have 290 people on our supported decision-making program, where we're named as the guardians for these individuals, making decisions on medical decisions, making decisions on where they might live and work, making decisions, end-of-life decisions for some of these folks. So we have an ethics committee that we work through when we're making those long, hard decisions about end-of-life. That happened whenever Cody had his accident, and it was actually in North Mississippi. It happened in the Tupelo area, which is about 3 hours north of our offices in Jackson. And I drove up and I met with the doctors, and as you would a loved one, sat down with the doctors and made a decision if we were going to end the life-giving, the machines that he was on. He tested through all the neurologicals with no brain activity, and with further determination or further information, he was not likely to make it through the night. So the decision needed to be made if we were going to be a part of him being able to give donate his organs to, in this case, MORA, Mississippi Organ Recovery. I met with a nurse there. We went into a little room kind of like this and just sat down and talked through all of that process, signed a bunch of paper, and the decision was made to donate his organs. I never had any expectation. I'd been through that process on one separate occasion where I got a letter in the mail that said, hey, because of your decisions, these 5 no-named people are going to go on getting the benefit of these organs. I received a letter much like that for yours, and I went on with my day. Didn't think I'd ever hear from any of these folks. And then a few months later, I get a call from my office that says, hey, there's this guy named Scott from Texas that's trying to get up with you, Matt. And I said, well, give him my cell number. What does some guy from Texas want with me? And that's how our relationship started. I was actually en route to another supported decision-making call, ironically,
this is
for
crazy.
an individual named Bennett, that was actually in a jail in the Delta in Mississippi. And I was driving down up Highway 61 when I got your call from this Bennett guy. And I was like, wait a minute. So I reach over in the front seat of my truck and I was like, who are you again? Because I was going to see a person named Bennett. And so I thought it was related to the call that I was going on. I had no idea that it was this character from Dallas, Texas. That
What'd you say?
Well,
yeah, I used to be there. But
no. He It's true. I don't know if I told you this actually, because I've told you most of this, but I tried to get him originally and thought maybe he didn't want to know me because I was violating it. So it wasn't that.
No.
But it's just the work that he does. He traverses the state of Mississippi day in and day out. We've talked on the phone where he'll be 2 hours in the car going across back and forth. So he didn't call me, and then I got sick. It was the only time I've been sick with RSV. And I decided on a random Tuesday morning. It was that day. It was no particular day. It wasn't on my calendar to do so. I just called him that day. So I don't know whether that's. And the file actually, not only, it goes further. The name of the living. So my donor's name was Cody. Cody has a brother named Connor. That's who Matt put back together. The name on the file.
That's right.
No, it wasn't that. The name on the file was Richards.
You're right. You're right.
It was two things. It wasn't just one thing. It wasn't just Bennett. It was Connor. The first name was Connor, not spelled, I think, the same way. Connor Bennett was the name on the file, I think.
You're wonderful at details.
Yeah. I remember reading and thinking, what are the chances of this? It's just like, I had a similar picture there. But needless to say, I was just trying, I watched a lot of Scooby-Doo, John, when I was growing up. So I was like doing my detective work here. But I was trying to be sensitive, and he was great. And we've built a friendship.
But now I asked, like, what did you say? Like, he says, hey, are you... You had some clarifying question about who he was.
I did.
And then what'd you say?
I said I'm the recipient of a organ donation, a heart from Cody, and I think you made that decision.
And then just immediately I was like, wow. I mean, anybody had never reached out before, and then two, to know that somebody received a heart. I mean, I'm no medical professional, but you can't live without one of those. I mean, it was just amazing to hear his enthusiasm and the purity of your thankfulness. And we're honestly just doing our work. I'm not trying to be, the organ recovery people did the heavy lifting and all that. We certainly made the decision to go on and help somebody because that's what our agency does, is help people. And it wasn't a banner day or anything. It was a terrible day when we had to make that decision, honestly. And knowing that decision had this kind of outcome, and certainly other outcomes, maybe somebody being able to see today because of a cornea implant or whatever, I've just never had anybody reach out. So the uniqueness of that relationship beginning, and then certainly him learning and caring about what we do in Mississippi and how we're trying to change a system of care to be better, and how we feel like we figured out a few things that we want to share and be bigger. And he just is almost insistent upon us coming over and sharing with others about it. So we're happy to do that.
I wanted people to know, and I think what you and Matt share in common, I attended a breakfast for you, that the work that you do, not necessarily under the auspices of your everyday work, because you have a business, you work in real estate and do many other things, but you do a lot of other good work. I think I do too. Mm-hmm. This is a man that's made a career professionally, and we both work with nonprofits. We've had done our own share.
Sure.
This guy runs a nonprofit, right? But I immediately deduced after getting to know you, Matt, that the work that's made it possible, Cody was a recipient of the work that you do.
Sure.
In the poorest state, we know this, in our country. The least amount of resources. And I joke with Matt now that we have rich nonprofits here. And not that yours doesn't, but when I quickly learned about your work and what it must have meant for you to be able to do, you were just doing, like you said, the work that you do every day, but the ripple that it has to stretch this far and wide, and that others that we could demonstrate for three men around a certain age to say you told me, corrected me last night, and I shared this with you, John, recently, or just a few minutes ago actually, that I said I feel like you can't help everybody. I used to think I could, and then you reminded me last night. Yes.
And we can all do something. I mean, people of purpose. John, gosh, I've heard about some of your philanthropic work from your friends here today, and I think about people of purpose find one another. They don't know how. I mean, I didn't know that I'd ever meet a Scott in my life or a John in my life, but I know that there's a plan. You talked about God winks. I mean, God's involvement in all of it. I'm the furthest thing from a preacher. I mean, I'm the reason people go to church to pray for sinners, man. But I'm just saying that there are folks out here that good and well that they're doing it for the right reasons. They're involved in their mission or purpose for the right reason. I think we talked a little earlier about, redefining success. And thinking about the work that we do and the people that we get to meet is really our payment. I mean, it really is. The work that we get to do on behalf of somebody else, if you have the resources to do it, use it in that way. Be a person of purpose. Take action. You said you can't help everybody. I say BS. I think you can do something to move that football forward, if you will, in your playground here,
Right.
and ensure that somebody gets what it is that they need. If you can't do it yourself, you know somebody who can.
I think so many people worry about or don't do something because they feel like their effort's not scalable. There's not a bunch of scale to it. And what I'm hearing you say is, even if you're helping one person, 2 people, 3 people, all good. Like, do what you can.
That's 3 less than you have to do in your philanthropic work, and 1 less than he has to do, and 4 less than I have to do. So, amen.
I told you, and you've got to experience today being with my friend Tress, my little brother, and that's something that, as a result of Cody, that I was able to do. I wasn't a big brother. I've done other things like this, but it's had a profound impact on me. My relationship with Tress, and my friend, who is my college roommate, called me. He's got a son and 2 older daughters, and he said, "Scott, I've seen you do a million things. I've seen you be student council." He knew about me and lead companies and start a business and be a dad and all these other things. He said, "But the single most important thing you're doing is your relationship with Tress." Now, he doesn't know that Tress really gives to me, but
Absolutely.
But he said, "You're just helping, to your point, John, one young guy see what's possible." And really, it's Tress that shows me what's possible. But it is that, because we wouldn't have been put together if it wasn't that. So you're right to notice that. I think people just do one thing. I'm so frustrated that people don't.
Yeah, I enjoyed
But you
listening to
shouldn't
you.
be frustrated by it.
I know. I just want to model. I just want to model for others. I think that's what you're saying. And I think, Matt, you've sort of.
We're all made up of y'all's relationship is based upon if you had a good experience as kids, apparently, or else y'all wouldn't be here 40 years later, sitting here talking to each other or whatever. But it's made you who you are.
Yeah.
All of us are made up of who we are. Wouldn't we want to be about things that are good?
Yes.
Wouldn't we want to? We want the best for our kids. I'm blessed to have 6 beautiful children. I mean, that's the only really thing I'm pretty good at, I think, in this world, I hope, is being a good dad. And I pray to be a better dad every day. But we want them to hang around better people. We want them to live in the right neighborhood so they're not around riffraff. We want them to be around, if they choose a spouse in their life, to be better for each other. That's what God wants for us.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not a preacher, and I feel like I'm preaching, but it's what he wants for us. And we get filled up inside when I see my son do something right and do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as we get older, brother. It's what we're put here to do, I believe.
You talked about redefining success.
Yes, sir.
So what's the definition currently, and what do you want to redefine it to?
Great question. Time for a break yet?
To learn more about our guest, Matt Nalker, and his work as executive director at the ARC of Mississippi, check out the organization's website, arcms.org. That's arcms.org.
That's changed the older I get. Success is about, of course, I need resources to pay my bills and to have decent vehicles to go out and do my work. But it's got to be about a difference made in somebody else's life. It's got to be about a difference, a positive difference, not just because there can be negative impact to some people going out doing good work. And I've seen some of that too, believe it or not. A positive impact for others, and have a desire to teach others for the future to not just reinvent the wheel. Learn from what we've learned over the last 30 years doing our work, and let's take it forward. So mentoring the next generation of folks is what I want to pour my next 10 years of work into. If God lets me be on this earth, I don't want the work to stop whenever I leave. I think there's wonderful organizations out there that I see have some founder syndrome, I believe I call it, because the old folks won't get out of the way. I don't want to be that old guy that just wants to keep you down, only helping 2 people a week, by golly. I want to say, you know what? I know you have new and innovative ideas. Let me show you what we did. Not that you can't try it again, but we did try this back in 2000, and we tried it hard, and it didn't work. But maybe you can try it differently, but don't go back and make my same mistake again. So don't fall into the same pitfall that we may have found ourselves in, to move it forward and truly invest into that next generation and give it away. Give it away, man. Don't keep it and think, whenever I die, I'll leave my money to you to go on and do better things. Enjoy it where maybe you can steer that ship a little bit. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what I feel.
I think one thing that Matt and I talked about, since we've spent a little time together, is last night we were talking, and you and I talk about athletics and sports and sort of what people are looking at as a model, right? What does success look like? And we sort of talked about our disenchantment, like we do, of sports.
I think success looks like UT softball. Finally, a
Thank
title
you,
for
thank you, John. I wasn't going to say it. I was hoping you would, but we were actually talking about that very thing. You're right. Congratulations to my UT women's softball. They pulled it. The baseball team did not do its part, but the women did, and we were talking about that very thing about shouldn't it be enough, and it's I don't think we're gonna get into it today, but Matt posed in something we should talk about later, and I know I say that, but honestly, Matt had a really profound point last night when we were talking about athletics, and shouldn't it be enough if the rest of us want our kids to go to college, if we think that's the right route, to get it paid for, to get great meals and enough pairs of Nike underwear to last you a week without having to do your wash, wouldn't that be enough? But yet it's not anymore, and I know we've talked about it. We have to pay. We saw this week that the NCAA came out. So this idea of success, it's just gotten so out of control, and it's mostly fueled by money. And I think that's where so yes, we need resources to do the things we do, but where's the balance in it, I think, is where we're all struggling right now.
But I read parts of a book called American Tragedy by Theodore Dreiser. It's published in the 1920s. And midway through the book, he introduces a new character who shows up in the book, and he qualifies the guy as a financial success. He describes him as a financial success. Mm-hmm. And I found it fascinating that in 1920s America, when we were talking about success, we were qualifying it or describing it in different ways. It wasn't assumed to be a financial success. Where nowadays,
great point.
Yeah.
In 2025, when we talk about success, we all know what success means. It means you got a bunch of money, I feel like, or you've done real well in your career.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're doing great with 6 children. It doesn't mean you're doing wonderful this year with your new heart.
Right.
Like,
you're right.
We look at success in a kind of unusual way.
It's a great point, and one that I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad you shared that, because I think it's something that, to your point, mentoring, I talk to people about. I think I'm a success. I say all the time when I speak about my mental health that I struggle with the idea of the number of zeros in my bank account, the fact that I didn't have a Barbie dream house in Hawaii, and the title on my business card, because those were metrics of success. But the reality was I had friendships of a lifetime. I was proud of the family I had created, and I had experiences to that point that were enough for me. Like, I was grateful for all of them. And I think it's the resetting of that as a result of receiving this gift from you, the decision you made, and really the gift from Cody, but it was really the gift you gave to Cody that gave to me so that I can give to others. That's what's making me continue on my path of success.
So Matt, a lot of the success of our lives, it's shaped by how we handle or play the cards we're dealt. And as I've listened to you today, I hear about the birth of your first child and how that seems to potentially have really shaped how you moved from there.
No doubt. Well, I married well. I married right the first time, honestly. My wife wrote a book a few years ago, actually for our 21st wedding anniversary. She gave it to me. It was called Just Jump. And what that meant was our little thing that no matter how heavy things were doing, if we would just hold hands and jump off the cliff together. Why'd you ask me that? I'm going to start crying or something. But it was really about our relationship of having a strong partner to go through life with. And between she and I, we were able to make it happen.
Well, I would have to say to you that the profound gift that I've received as a result of you and the circumstances that were dealt, there's two ways that you can go with what's happened to me. A lot of people who have a cardiac episode, heart attacks, anything cardiac related, suffer depression as a result of it. I have come back differently, but I'd like to talk a little bit for just a second because you knew Cody.
I did.
And this gift of life, Cody had a pretty difficult life. So just a minute or two.
Cody was a real character in this world in the sense that he was born likely with fetal alcohol syndrome. There's no real definite. He had a lot of the characteristics of someone that had fetal alcohol syndrome. When I got to know Cody, originally he was at a state psychiatric facility for about 4 years, and his second adoptive family had dropped him off there because of his behaviors. And it was when there was a real push in our state to get long-term, especially children, out of those facilities. So my organization was called to go do what we call a person-centered approach to problem solving, doing some discovery and trying to get him out of that facility. We were able to do that. We got him out into a program that was a lot better for him and a lot better designed. It wasn't a hospital. It was a program in community. So it was about the time we started our supported decision-making program that I talked about, our guardianship program, and we got involved and became his advocate, got him into a better program. He moved 3 different times, kind of graduated out to least restrictive environment where he was ultimately before his accident. He lived with 2 other men in a house in a community, a very nice home in a community. He had his own TV and guitar and all the computers and his computer games in his room. He went to a day program. We were working on trying to get him a little job in the community. Cody had some attention-seeking behaviors that we were always trying to deal with throughout the time that we got to know him. And ultimately, I was telling Ron earlier, ultimately it was he was in the middle of one of those attention-seeking behavior moments when he stepped out of a moving vehicle and tripped and hit his head on a curb, and that was how he ultimately died from those injuries. All the protocols were followed. Nobody did anything wrong. There was proper amount of driver ratio people. All that investigation had taken place. Nobody did anything wrong. He was just bound and determined to get out of that van before she could get the van to a stop, and he tripped, and it was an accident.
And yet, the gravity of that, because organ donation, and I think you probably have a new relationship with it now too, and I like I do with yours, and of course Jon, knowing, is not only become something that's changed my life, it's become a part of my life and my everyday work. I intend to help organ procurement organizations and the ecosystem that makes it possible for people to receive organs as to help them with their insurance needs, to be a professional advisor in that space, to live right by Cody, because Cody never, by all accounts, and you and I have talked about it many times, had a chance. And so I think it is a set of circumstances, Cody's, yours, and mine, that you make the best of what the cards you're dealt. He wasn't dealt great cards, but I feel like with me, he's getting to play a new hand, and
Sure.
That's how I'm choosing to take it. So
There is no doubt, buddy.
I'm excited to have you do one of our favorite things, which is topics from the hat. So pick first.
Oh my goodness.
We'll take a couple minutes.
I'm sure this deck has been stacked. Let's see what we have here. All right.
I think that's one I didn't put in, but
Oh, it's like printed.
yeah.
The cover of The Economist for June 7th, 2025 features a piece titled, "Phew, It's a Girl." It explores the declining preferences for boys in some parts of the world where previously millions of girls were aborted. Now parents are increasingly leaning toward daughters. The cover also addresses other key
Forget
global
that.
issues.
I just wanted to talk about this sudden
don't
preference
play-
for girls. So 5 girls, 3 girls, 2 girls.
Yeah, we have a lot of women.
10
We have
girls.
10 girls.
Go
between us.
girls!
Right?
But like,
Girl dads.
is this what we've sensed in our lifetimes from society?
And I don't know, do you have a boy as well?
I do.
Okay, so Gage is
He's last.
Gage is my last. And I cannot tell you, I'm talking from church to the bar that I go to that I frequent. Whew, you finally got that boy, didn't you? You always hear that. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, if I had 5 more, I'd have 5 more girls. Whatever God wants to send me, I'm fine with. But I never really had this. Maybe there was a notion, name, lineage, and all that. But I don't think I did. I just had such a wonderful experience raising my girls, and I just see them out there being independent females in the world. That I celebrate their independence. And I'm not saying I don't know the difference between a boy and a girl. I'm saying that I don't care as long as they're healthy. I don't care. I'm just 100% as happy of having a boy as I was having a girl.
What about you?
I mean, I'll agree with what you said, but I'll really amplify this social pressure I felt about having girls.
You mean to have them?
Not to go have them like, oh boy, you're in trouble. Like we're in
Oh,
trouble.
yeah,
here.
yeah,
We gotta
absolutely.
have some boys.
I've
here.
heard it
Yeah.
all, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like, I just don't
have.
think that people would do that for the 2 boys, 3 boys, the way they did when I had a girl. It was like, well, you want to have a boy, and then I
Yeah.
had a second girl, and it's like, well, when are you going to have a boy? Then I had a third
Yeah.
girl, and it was like Armageddon. I was just like,
The audacity
I mean,
of folks
seriously,
coming up
yes,
to you. It's
yes.
really the audacity of folks. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, what are you talking about?
Well,
You gonna keep
my
going?
quick thing for you guys is I thought we have 2 children, right? So we stopped at 2, and I thought we didn't find out either time. You could, but it was the one thing
We
I didn't
didn't
want.
either.
Yeah, I didn't want to find out. So I believe it or not, so my wife would tell you. So we had a neutral colored nursery, but I thought I'd be better prepared. Like I knew how a man operate, like the male body operated. That I'd be better served with my skill set. That was my real reason. Now, of course, later I thought it'd be more. I'd identify more with the things. But to truth be told, it's great to have something different. And each of my daughters is very different. So that experience. So listen, healthy children, we would all say, is the most important thing.
Amen.
All right.
Well, now that I know the rules of the game,
Yeah,
I'll be
you're into
better
it. You want to put some topics
No,
in.
I'm good.
Mississippi.
First of all, he was checking my spelling. I
It's
knew it.
spelled
I wrote it.
correct.
I checked it
Science,
twice.
IBBI.
He's checking my spelling. I knew it because we talked about it. All right. So just quick, anything you want to talk about special for us in Mississippi? Because we're Texans. We don't spend a lot of time.
No, I think if I think of Texas, you think of cowboys and steaks. I don't
Yeah.
know what else you think of. Of course, you can think about the football, baseball. What do y'all think of Mississippi? I've been all over this country. I was answering this question earlier today. Didn't know you were going to ask it again. That we have some phenomenal resources, great systems in place. We're busy doing it, not talking about it. We have just enough people to get the work done and not enough people to PR the work that we're doing. So when I go around the country and look at other programs, because, first thing you do when you're in human service, like, who's doing it best? And someone say, oh, you need to go to Utah, South Dakota, California, wherever you dream it up, and you go up there and you see it and you go, yeah, I see what you're doing here. We were doing that 2 years ago. We just didn't talk about it. I think we need to do a better job in Mississippi of telling our story and seeing what our contribution is to the rest of the world to keep them from reinventing the wheel. I know that we are on the cusp of great things in Mississippi to change the system of care to help the most people. I don't know that we tell our story well enough.
Is that a Mississippi-wide problem just for all things Mississippi?
I don't know. Yes, I don't know.
Because we do a good job, right, John? You see a lot of, we had a huge campaign.
Hell, I had to
like,
come
Don't
to
Mess with
Dallas
Texas.
to do a podcast.
Right.
So,
I wouldn't come into
certainly there's microphones in Mississippi, right?
Right.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Should we go?
My impression of Mississippi is I have a pre-Bruce Ware impression and a post-Bruce Ware. Like Bruce Ware is one of our buddies, and he's remarkably changed my assessment of Mississippi.
Okay.
And he's opened my eyes to some of the great things that are happening, particularly at Ole Miss, which I used to always think was just a party school.
Yeah.
And now he's shown me, hey, that's a school that has some really elite parts to it.
I was sharing today at lunch with my little brother and Matt and his son that what did they know about Mississippi? Because they're homeschooled and we're trying to make all things educational as much as we can expose. And I remarked that cotton was always what I associated with Mississippi. Mississippi was really well known, and Matt explained that the rich soil of Mississippi was why cotton was so great, probably close to the Gulf. And so anyway, we just want to give Mississippi a shout out here from your friends in Texas, because we don't get a lot of Mississippi visitors.
Is Texas in the South?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it is?
Well, it's straight across from us on Interstate 20.
Well, so's California. I mean, eventually you get there too, right?
That's west.
Okay, so you're saying it's the West.
I'm
We're the
California?
Southwest.
Yeah, I
right.
guess Southwest.
Yeah,
yes.
we my region in business, a lot of times when things are regionalized, Texas is part of the Southwest. So
I was-
That's why I was like,
Yeah,
I was asking a
absolutely.
Southern guy, are we Southern or not?
Oh, okay. Well, you're Southwesterners.
Okay.
All right, I'm glad the last one is for you guys. We're getting to the last one, but just quickly, National Guard and or military service. You didn't mention too much, but you served.
Hoorah, yeah. I believe everybody needs to go experience serving. Whether you serve as a missionary, whether you serve in the United States Army, as I got the opportunity to do when I turned 17 and graduated high school. My parents signed off for me. Went to Fort Dix, New Jersey. Went to Fort Eustis, Virginia for 14 months.
Thank you
Changed
for your
my
service,
life.
by the way. We haven't talked too much about veterans.
Changed my life. I mean,
Did you fly helicopters?
No. I was worked on them.
Okay.
Had to sign off and fly on the first flight after you worked on it with the pilot. So if you're
Better do
working on
right.
it, that's
Kind of want to make sure it's safe.
It was a big old long name. It was a 68 Delta, which is a powertrain engineer, which is you were a prop and rotor mechanic. You made sure the blades were balanced. You made sure that your engine and powertrain knew how to
These
meet.
weren't the glass front.
Hueys and OH6s as well. They got red X'd when I was in. I went in 1987, got out in 92-ish, 93, 6 years.
How good is your skills for making your bed?
don't talk to my wife. I'm gonna look right in the camera and say, don't talk to my wife. You're not bouncing a quarter off my bed anymore.
Yeah.
But at one time, I had myself squared away.
All right, good. Jon, this is exciting. You guys are going to really love this topic.
Mowing lawns.
So,
Made my living for a long time. Made a good living mowing lawns for a long time.
Until what age?
I sold the landscape. Well, I went and got a horticulture degree and sold a landscape management company in 90. Brooks was born in 91, so 92 or 93. Bought a DST food service, was an entrepreneur doing that until I got pissed off at the system and went to work part-time for the ARC of Mississippi, on a DD Council grant to – I can't remember who I told the story to, but I went to my first support group meeting. And at the time, I had 7 trucks and 13 employees. I had a pretty good sized landscape business and a maintenance side. And but landscape business, trucks, guys, power, support group. And I went to that support group meeting, and I was like, oh, my gosh, these people are speaking my language, because they were all talking about what my wife and I had been talking about for 4 years in my living room. I didn't know there was a disability community out there. I had a landscape business and a garden center. My wife was a paralegal for, at that time, a big pager company called Mobilecom. We were just making it. We were newly married and didn't know anything about services and supports for people. Didn't know what that meant. So, topic is
mowing lawns, but
every week I have a little mowing mission around my house too. No longer for pay anymore, sadly, but at one time it's how I made my living.
But are you riding now, or are you pushing?
I'm riding now.
I'd like for you to tell Jon.
Well,
just what you care for.
So my mother-in-law has 10 acres down the road, so about 8 acres of grass there. My parents have 40 acres, with about 12 acres of grass there. Across the street. And then across the street, this is all within riding mower distance. It's 360-inch zero turns takes me 8 hours with 3 running.
You're small time is what I'm trying to tell you.
But
a week. That's keeping them full of diesel, full of gas, making sure those batteries are charged and going, and belts are going. Gage has got a Toro himself, a Toro 60. My wife runs a Bad Boy 60, and I run a Kubota Diesel 60. Every week.
Yeah.
Unless it's
it sounds like the Kubota's the best.
It gets the hardest. That's the one that goes and does all the ditches and the pond dams that are too steep for the rest of them. That's why I'm on it, not just because it has a cushy seat, like my wife would say.
I told Matt that you paid for a year of college. I was pretty proud of you. I'd like to
see you trying to mow any part of the yard that's too steep.
Let me be clear. I told Matt the story, but I think you know the story. But I think when we all turned of age, we were all about the same age. Pulling the cord on a power mower is a big deal for us. You had something with a motor, right? And so Ralph Bennett did not either think I was qualified.
I bet you had an electric weed eater.
I told you we got the electric mower.
Oh my gosh.
My dad, not only did I have a bad bicycle from Sears, I had the worst lawnmower. It was like it had a cord.
You had a Sears mower?
Yes, a corded mower, an electric mower. Clearly now that might be better, but everybody I knew you had a lawn business. All of our friends had a lawn business. So they were like, and I was flipping this cord over like I was vacuuming my front yard. I mean, this is ridiculous. So I meet a guy like this in my life. Maybe this was our reason. He's telling my family this last night. I'm shrinking in my seat in front of my wife, and not that that I'm so I've unaccomplished because you mow 8 hours. I'd like to come out. I'm going to come for a field trip, but we were talking about.
We'll put you on
every other week or every week?
Every other week usually. It's according to who needs it. This much rain we've been having lately, it's been almost every week. Yeah.
Well, I'm proud
to do it. I might say that I'm happy and blessed to be able to do it. Is the way I see it.
Yeah, and one of those people, by the way, Jon, that he mentioned in the mowing mission is across the street neighbor who's battling cancer, can't be outside in the sun. So you are.
Just a bless.
I just want to say, I'm probably going to get choked up because when I describe you, often you don't hear, but we communicate through Scripture. Sometimes you send me, you know just the right time to send me things. You've been doing it since we become friends, which is over a year now. And your friendship is a blessing and a treasure in front of a long time, one of my oldest friends. And you've had a profound impact, not just on my life, but on the lives you shared about what the programs that you're doing in Mississippi at the ARC. And I just say to you that when I describe you, I say your name, and I hope I say it right. I always will now. I'll never say it wrong. But I often describe you as Ted Lasso in real life and the best of us. So Matt, thank you for coming on the playground to be with Jon and I, and coming to Dallas again to be with me and my family. It's been just a wonderful 24 hours for me to be with you, and thank you for the decision you made that night that's saved my life, and just thank you.
It's been our pleasure to be here, and gosh, to get to meet good people and be around other people of purpose, it's just a blessing to me and my family. Thank you
Thanks,
very much.
guys.
Yeah, guys.